Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the news briefing for this Wednesday. Phase one of the recovery from the Moss Landing Vistra power plant fire has begun, and while progress is being made this first week, it's important that we all be aware of what a long process this is going to be. Phase one includes battery hazard mitigation and removal, which is being overseen by the Environmental Protection Agency. And we're very pleased to have Eric Sandusky from the US EPA with us again this week to talk about what has been done this first week of this process. Hi, Eric. Thanks very much for being here.
There we go. Absolutely, and thank you. Thank you to the Monterey County for the invitation to speak again. EPA appreciates the collaboration with our local and state partners on this response. So my name is Eric Sandusky. I'm a federal on-scene coordinator with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and I'm here to talk about what we're currently doing at the Moss Landing site, which is a process called delinking, and that began on Saturday the 22nd, so last Saturday. And what delinking is basically disconnecting the individual batteries from one another in the storage facility where the January 6th fire and the February 18th reignition occurred. So EPA has been directing Vistra on developing these procedures to isolate the batteries safely and efficiently, since the damaged batteries do pose a potential fire and health risk. The remaining battery modules in the building where the fire occurred must be disconnected and isolated, and that will mitigate the risk of a thermal runaway and the creation of a large fire, which is the goal, is to obviously mitigate that. The reason is that not all these batteries were consumed in the fire, as we know, and thermal runaway is a reaction that occurs when the batteries heat up uncontrollably, and that likelihood is higher when the batteries have been damaged. So our goal, first and foremost, is to protect human health and the environment. And the way to do this is to reduce that risk of the additional flare-ups. And that's what this battery delinking is, the first process of that mitigation. So another primary concern that we have is making sure the work is being done safely and carefully. And then we have air monitoring operations continuing to be performed by Vistra's contractors 24/7, and they will continue that monitoring throughout this entire process. There is a private fire company on site to provide immediate mitigation should a fire occur, while the North County Fire Protection District is on their way. And then once the Fire Protection District gets there, they will assume control. So I heard this morning that the first phase of this delinking process originally was about 1/3 of the remaining batteries. And now that a structural engineer has been able to clear a little bit more of the building, of the rooms in the building, that is about, we think about 50% of the remaining batteries are going to be able to be delinked in this first phase, which is really good, because that, takes a lot of that potential energy away from the batteries, and then helps us get more of that out of the building as quickly as possible. So the areas of the building that we cannot access still do have batteries, and the batteries are still linked together. So once this first phase is complete, an emergency demolition permit will be applied for. That way we can access or do the demolition of the damaged building and access the remaining batteries for further delinking. The North County Fire Protection District has been in communication with Vistra and us since the initial fire, and will continue to be the first responding agency. And then the county and states are taking the lead on all the environmental sampling on the exterior of the property and in the community. So thus far, EPA has tasked Vistra to develop health and safety plans and operations procedures to reduce the threat of releases on site. And I think that's about it for me. So thanks for having me, and I'll stick around to answer any questions at the end of this. Thank you.
I'm going to unmute myself. That'll make asking the question a lot easier. We're going to go ahead and take questions. If you don't mind, Eric, a couple have already come in. Are there any health risks while the delinking process is being done?
So there's always a risk of a fire with damaged batteries. So the risk is still there. This delinking is basically just disconnecting the copper bars from one battery to another. So this will reduce the risk of a large fire, but it does not reduce the risk of an actual like individual small fire. So to be clear, this is just to reduce the risk of larger fires and flare-ups. So the health risk is still with the particulate in the air that we've been monitoring for constantly, and the HF hydrogen fluoride production that we've also been monitoring for. So we're still monitoring for all that. There's no increased risk at this moment. So I hope that answered the question there.
Thank you. And then another question for you. You said that they cannot reach all of the remaining batteries. What slows down that process? Is this due to debris or the hazards that the batteries present?
So the batteries that we cannot access right now is strictly due to the debris and the structurally soundness of the building. So as you know, the building collapsed, there's a lot of debris and there's walls that are leaning and high winds may topple those walls. So we're not able to access the remaining, batteries because the threat of that wall falling on somebody, and we're not, willing to risk putting anybody in a situation that's not safe right now.
Thank you. And then another question came in about timeline about this process. Because most people have never really learned about delinking these types of batteries and the process that it entails. Can you talk about that this isn't something that's going to happen just in 1 week or maybe even 2 weeks? Is that we're looking at a longer process?
Yeah, we are. So this whole process will be a long process. But no, we are working as quickly and safely as we can. So far in the delinking process, we think there's about 7, maybe 10 days remaining for this first phase of delinking. And then once that's complete, we'll have to remove the batteries from the building, and we'll have to, figure out the disposal for the building or for the batteries. And there's a lot of like intermediate processes in there that need to be taken into consideration. But this is not a quick 2-week thing that the whole process will be done, but the delinking should be done in about a week to 10 days.
And people are looking at the delinking, but they're also looking beyond the delinking and are wondering, the next steps, how these things are handled. For instance, once you delink the batteries, there's a whole process about what you do with those batteries to make them safe to either transport or recycle.
Absolutely, yeah. So the delinking is the first phase, as I mentioned, and then we have to remove the batteries from the building. And then once they're removed from the building, we have to discharge the batteries, and then we put them in a brine solution, and then we work out disposal. Right now, we're looking at recycling options, but we're still early in that phase right there, in the disposal phase. So, that's kind of where we are. It's going to be a long-term process, but we're hoping to start removing batteries from the building, in the next, couple weeks.
Thank you. And I'm hoping you can, that's all the questions I have for you right now. But if you could hold on in case some other questions come in, I'd like to go to Ric Encarnacion, who is with our Environmental Health Bureau at the Health Department. And that department has been working very closely with agencies like the US EPA, as well as doing other work. Hi, Ric. Thanks for giving us an update today.
Sure. Thank you, Maya. And thank you, Eric, for providing that update as well through the US EPA. Ric Encarnacion, Director of Environmental Health, County of Monterey. We are your local health inspectors. And just like as Eric mentioned, we are working closely with the US EPA, Cal EPA, with respects to proper cleanup of the site. And then beyond the site, we're continuing our planning and our eventual continuing of soil sampling around the area, working with our state partners, with Cali PA, Department of Toxic Substance Control, the Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment, so that we have proper plans and we do it right. We do understand that there's a lot of concern and with respects to the timing, but please know safety is our concern. We also want to ensure that we are going to follow things and do things the right way so that we get good information and that we do follow up with the responsible party to ensure whatever needs to be done is done. I'm going to drop in the chat where if people have any concerns or complaints, we still have that posted online on the informational webpage. So I'll drop that in the chat where people can either call, leave a message, or submit an online form. So please know we're still out there. We're not done. As Eric mentioned, this is a long process. And even beyond that, we'll still be there to monitor and ensure safety.
And Rick, I'm hoping you might talk just for a minute about FAQs, because I know that staff in your department has been working very hard to pull together information that is based on the most commonly asked questions that you are receiving either by phone or by concern forms.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, as you know, we're working closely with specifically District 2, Supervisor Church's office. You know, we have our phone line. We have questions that are centered around basically the timing of things. How soon can we get out there? And again, the basic message is we are planning to put together we are in the midst of putting together the plan. We want to do it right. We're estimating around maybe mid-March to get out there, but that doesn't mean monitoring isn't going on. Monitoring is constant. Safety of the workers, safety of the community is paramount. There's also questions about will we have to update any of our health advisories? Obviously, we would, based on any information that comes, if there's any new information, if anything, just like what Eric mentioned, as we go through this process to ensure nothing worse happens and things are done safely and properly. And if we need to update any of the health advisories, we would. But right now, everything seems to be, for all intents and purposes, good enough to continue the work to do the cleanup. So we want people to know to look for the official information that's on our webpage. We do have, we're constantly updating the frequently asked questions. I don't have them up with me right now, but again, most of the questions are about what are you all doing? What do you know? What don't you know? And what are you doing to try to find out so that you do know? And what do you want to tell us? So all of that information is there, and I do highly suggest people look for those official answers to the frequently asked questions on our webpage. We're working with the community. We're not just working in a vacuum, so that we want to make sure that we're connected with the community that we serve, and that's very important.
Thank you, Rick. And if you could just hold on for possibly some questions that may come in. I wanted to take an opportunity to show the website where those FAQs are. And I'm going to have my colleague Maite pull that up. It's not hard to find. You can go to our county website, which is countyofmonterey.gov. And at the top of the website, there is a yellow bar that indicates that where you can find the fire incident page. You can click on that and it will go directly to that page. Now that page has been there since the incident began, and as things evolve and change, we are adding new information. So there is our homepage, and that you can, there's the yellow bar, and then you can click, find that information there. And then here is the page for the incident. And it's been, the top part has been the same since the beginning of the incident, but as we scroll down, you'll see that new information is being added as often as it comes in. We add sampling results, statement results, any new information that comes in is at the top. And we're continually adding this, including the FAQs. So this is a great way to check in and see what's happening, what is the latest news. You can also get to the concern or complaint form that Rick was talking about, is on this page as well. So this is a great resource, and we just want to make sure people know that it's still there and it is still being updated, and it's a good resource for you. And then the other thing I just wanted to remind you that was related to this topic is that there is a community health survey that is ongoing. It'll be open until March 14th, and it is open for responses. The survey is available in English and in Spanish and invites people to give their input on their experiences after the incident that happened in January, and then also the reignition. It's a 5-minute survey. It's confidential. It's not asking for any personal information. And it's a way for those who were affected to share what happened to them. And we hope that people will take advantage of putting their information in the survey and sharing it with our public health staff. I don't see any more questions for any of our folks for the Moss Landing topic. I do. I do have one more question, and it is actually for Brad Watson, who has been on the call and available for questions. And so, Brad, I do have one for you, and I'll go ahead and read it. At the February 12th news briefing, you said that CTEH had conducted surface wipe sampling at the Moss Landing facility, and that additional information about those tests would be added. Lost the questionnaire, would be added to the Incident Respond website. It appears this information has not been added yet. Are you still planning to make this information public? And if so, when are you planning to publish it? And I'm happy to repeat, that was a long question. I'm happy to take it in chunks for you.
Oh, hi, I'm traveling, so
Understood.
might be a slight delay, but
Right.
we'll review that and look at putting it on whether we'll put it on the website or not.
All right, and I've got hold on, I've got one more question for you, Brad. Would Vistra consider paying for biomonitoring testing for residents within the initial evacuation zone and or agricultural soil testing for fields within the radius where elevated concentrations of toxic heavy metals have been found since the fire?
I think right now our environmental team is really looking to the US EPA and the county for future sampling or soil screening plans.
Thank you. Any other questions for Brad or for Eric or for Rick while we have them on here before we go on to our next subject? I am seeing none, but however, if something does come in, if your question is just delayed, we will forward those questions to them and get a response for you as soon as we can. Gentlemen, thank you very much for participating in the news briefing this week, and hopefully we'll see you next week as well with more news. Now on to our next topic. Work has begun in North Salinas on the Boronda Congestion Relief Project. This is a project that affects a lot of people, whether you live in the city of Salinas or you are a county resident and you commute in that way to your job or for shopping. This is a project that will eventually widen East Boronda Road into a 4-lane roadway and add some multi-lane roundabouts. So we're very pleased to have our colleagues from the city of Salinas, Sophia and Guissel Villalobos, and I think I've completely done a terrible thing to your name, so I apologize. Please share more about this project, and I understand there's a community meeting coming up that people might want to be involved in.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, and thank you to the county for inviting us to be here today. And you're absolutely right. The Boronda Road Congestion Relief Project is a huge thing for the city of Salinas, and so we're starting to hear more about this now, even though the project itself was approved in 2017, because there are several things that have happened, including like a little pandemic that happened in 2020 that kind of put a little pause on a lot of work that was happening in the city. But really, this goes back even further into our current general plan. So the general plan is something that plans for the city for 20 years. And in that plan many years ago, there was the vision of the growth of Salinas and what that looks like. So we have the future growth area, which is another important topic that really connects with this Boronda project, because the undeveloped side of Boronda Road is where our future growth area is going to be and how our city is expanding. So that's going to bring thousands of new residential units there. And with thousands of units comes that many more people that are going to be using our infrastructure and our roadways. And as it is, the city recognizes that Boronda does have a congestion issue. So there is some action that needs to take place. But really one of the key focuses is that we need to invest in doing the work today to prepare us for what we need for the future. So the project itself includes 4 roundabouts at McKinnon, El Dorado, Natividad, and Independence. And what the widening portion of that is, currently we have 1 lane in each direction, and it will expand to 2 lanes in each direction. There are several benefits to roundabouts that were considered when we did our initial intersection control evaluation, all the traffic studies that have to happen for a project like this. Especially when we're talking about crossings where there are children involved, like the McKinnon roundabout, where there's McKinnon Elementary School. We want to make sure that we're considering pedestrian safety, what's safest for the kids and families, and bicyclists as well. So when in the general plan, what was originally proposed was doing a 6-lane signaled intersection, meaning there would be 3 lanes in each direction with traffic lights. So part of the study and the community outreach, when the outreach was done in 2017, there was a conversation about what would be best for pedestrians that are crossing. So when you have a signaled intersection with 6 lanes, that's a long time for students and families to have to be in the middle of the road. And then it also does not help with traffic flow. So there's still that potential of traffic being backed up as we go further up to El Dorado, Natividad, and Independence. So roundabouts, there were a lot of studies that were done about the safety. In addition to pedestrian bicyclist safety, there's a split island in the middle of the roundabout, so pedestrians will cross. They have a safe space to pause if they need to, and then they will continue to cross to the other side of the road. And then there's also some design elements in there for safety that create somewhat of a buffer for pedestrians as they're going across. And of course, we have a crosswalk, hawk beacons, which are the flashing lights that we see, which are very important, especially when you're crossing over a major artery like that. The roundabout versus a signalized intersection. Roundabouts keep the traffic flow continuous, and I know it's a topic not everybody is excited about the idea of a roundabout, but there really are some studies and numbers behind it, and it helps with traffic flow. So there won't be that pause or stop at the intersection. And studies show that there's fewer traffic fatalities and injury class crashes, and in the event that there is an injury, the data shows that they're less severe. And then, of course, there's the environmental benefits. When our cars are not idling at a traffic light, that means we're spending less time on the road, and so that helps with air pollution. So the current phase of the project that we're in, so if you've driven near McKinnon, that's where the first roundabout is going. So that's phase 1, and that is from Dartmouth until some point between McKinnon and El Dorado. So that project timeline will probably take us to the early of next year. Construction has begun, but we're in a pause because of the wonderful weather that we've had. All of the ground is saturated, but we're really taking this as an opportunity for us to reintroduce the project to the community, because between 2017 and now, we have new families that may not have been here during that time. We have residents that maybe didn't have children at the time, and so now they're more invested stakeholder because they have students that need to cross the road. So we want to make sure to provide a space where we can have conversation with the community about how we got here, explain the phases of the project, address some of the concerns about pedestrian crossing, and just really be available to answer any questions for the community. So phase one of the project estimate is about $15.6 million. So that's also another reason why it takes a little time to get these done. You have to have pretty much the full bucket before you can start a phase. You can't start a phase with half a bucket. Otherwise, who knows when the other half will get finished. With that, we're glad to take any questions that anyone might have.
Sophia, thanks very much for walking us through that, because it has been a long time since this first started. And we know that people from unincorporated county use Boronda Road, people in the city of Salinas use Boronda Road. And a lot of people in the last 8 years have come into the community who may not know the full picture of this. Talk a little bit more about the community meeting you have coming up and what people might be able to find out there.
Yes, so we have a community meeting next Thursday, March 6th. From 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. at McKinnon Elementary School. We've partnered with the school district, the school, and some of our neighboring stakeholders in the area to host this meeting. And really, we appreciate all of the feedback that we've been receiving from the community through our social media posts or phone calls. It's really valuable to help us understand what the questions and concerns are. So we will provide an overview of the project, again, like a reintroduction, and then we'll also talk about some of those main concerns, like why are we doing this now? What does pedestrian crossing look like when this is being constructed, and what does it look like afterwards? And of course, what does the traffic flow look like? So those are the top concerns, but we encourage, as we're putting information out there, please provide your comments and feedback. Any feedback and question is appreciated, because it really helps us understand how we better communicate with our community and make sure that you guys are involved and informed.
Sophia, thank you so much for being on to talk about this. It's not a sleepy little road anymore. Boronda Road is a completely different road from years past. So we really look forward to hearing more about as the project develops and those roundabouts that come in. You love them or you hate them, but we hope that everyone loves them.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, both of you. And now there is a fun event coming up on this Friday that has a very serious mission. This Friday, we are going to be marking Pink Shirt Day, and this is Friday, February 28th. And this is dedicated to anti-bullying efforts and promoting kindness and inclusion, which are really parts of our best selves. So we're very pleased to have our friend Kacey Rodenbush from our Behavioral Health Division of the Health Department to talk about Pink Shirt Day and some of the activities that will be going on. Hi, Kacey.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I had a flyer I wanted to show. Can I share the screen freely?
Please do.
Okay. So I'm really excited for this, everyone. So Pink Shirt Day, if you haven't ever heard of it, it is something that it started back in Canada several years ago, where a student wore a pink shirt to school and was bullied and harassed the entire day. And a group of students witnessed that, and they thought that was not okay. And sometime the whole school rallied around this one student, and everyone, maybe with a few exceptions, came to school wearing a pink shirt. And so it was really representing support and solidarity to address incidences of bullying and harassment. So in Monterey County, while this is something that is observed all around the world, we do something very special in Monterey County, and I wanted to share about it and see if we could get some coverage there, because there are multiple agencies involved in this event. So we have Sun Street Centers, we have Harmony at Home, we have the City of Salinas, the City of Seaside, all of the collaborative partners that are involved with Monterey County Behavioral Health's Rainbow Connections initiative, which also includes Partners for Peace. And we're gathering at the Northridge Mall. And this day, I just wanted to share a little bit about how Rainbow Connections will be participating is we've gone around, we've worked with 3 school sites over the past several weeks, and we've offered expressive arts workshops on anti-bullying. And so we have so many different beautiful pieces of artwork that our students across multiple sites have created, and we're going to have an exhibit for them at the Northridge Mall. So there'll also be some prizes, some giveaways. There's some books that will be shared. We'll have a mariachi band. We'll be talking a little bit about all the different agencies that are there. They'll have informational materials about how they all contribute to cultivating communities of kindness across Monterey County and beyond. So we'd love, love, love to have the community there. We'd love to have it covered so that the county can see all the great work that's happening, because we really now more than ever just need each other, and we need to really support each other. And this is a wonderful opportunity to do just that.
Kacey, thank you so much for sharing this. First of all, go Canada for getting behind somebody who was in a bad place. But do you find that if people have an opportunity to stand up for somebody, they do, where they may feel, they look around, they try to read the room, they think, is it safe for me to stand up? But if you find that they've got the tools to do it, that they do.
They do. And the more that that's done, the others will follow suit. And then we have environments that are cultivating belonging. And really, one thing I wanted to point out is today across many school sites, that we have a bunch of kids wearing pink shirts to school. So this is today on Wednesday, the 26th, is the day at the school sites where the students and the staff are celebrating Pink Shirt Day. And then Friday will be our big event. And I do think that it's really, when that we witness things like bullying and harassment, it's really important to be what they call an upstander rather than a bystander, and just a bystander just watches and without doing anything. And an upstander is one that asserts themselves and interjects into the situation to address it and make it better. So it's great to be doing it in a community this way.
And then I was hoping you might talk a little bit more about the art exhibit and
Yes.
getting involved with the schools. How did you get connected into the schools to get the artwork that now is going to go on exhibit?
Well, through the Rainbow Connections project, and I want to thank y'all for always being supportive of this project. Behavioral health has a very large school-based program. I'm one of the managers of that program. So behavioral health has existing relationships across multiple districts in the county. And so it was through those relationships that we began to engage the different sites to see if they would be interested in being one of our sites. So we had three sites that participated, and really fun, really amazing. And the kids love it. We started with at one of our sites, because it was a 4-session series that we did. And one site where we were, North Monterey County Middle, we started with 10 students the first week. The next week it was 16. The next week it was 25. The next week it was 35. That was yesterday. So the youth and the students come into a space. It's hosted by an organization called You Will Rise. You Will Rise is part of a larger organization called Art Makes Us. So that's run and co-founded by artist Paul Richmond. So Paul and I have been collaborating on this component of the Rainbow Connections project. And wow, it's just so beautiful to see. And the kids, is just such a wonderful space to be in with them, because they just get to express themselves and really raise awareness around bullying. Because bullying happens a lot, and it's really about having other people in the environment being aware of the fact that it's happening and knowing how to intervene. So that's how to answer your question, long answer to your question, but it was really about the relationships that behavioral health has across the county, and then approaching the school sites and the district with the district's blessing to do this great work.
Well, with beautiful results too. I can't wait to see all the art that's on exhibit on Friday, and really best of luck with the turnout on Friday. And we hope to have you back again, because you always have a good project somewhere And
Thank
we'd
you.
like to hear about it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thanks everyone for joining us on the briefing this week. Our next briefing is next week, and we'll see you then.